What if I told you the same record label that signed him as a hard rock guitarist turned him into a teen poster boy, and then threw away the poster? He was the real thing, a kid from the Atlanta club circuit who could actually play. The managers behind Ted Nugent and Aerosmith saw him and knew it immediately. They got him a deal at Columbia Records. He cut 2 albums of genuine hard rock, songs called Violent Playground and Dead End Kids. Raw, loud, and ahead of their time.
It's not allowed, now we can play everywhere. Oh yeah, come not with kings of a different class.
Then Columbia made a different decision, not about the music, about the face. They put him in a TV movie, they handed him a ballad, and overnight, the hard rocker became a heartthrob. On the covers of Tiger Beat and 16 magazine, screamed at by 12-year-olds who had no idea he used to shake walls. He played along, the hit came, the fame came, and then, just as fast, it was gone. The label got what it wanted. Rex Smith never did. If you haven't done so, like and subscribe. Here is how Columbia Records built a teen idol out of a real musician and left him with almost nothing to show for it. To understand what Columbia took from Rex Smith, you have to understand what he actually was before they got their hands on him. He grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. Youngest of 4 brothers, every one of them in music. His older brother, Michael Lee Smith, was the lead singer of the hard rock band Stars. Music was not a hobby in that house. It was the language. By the early 1970s, Rex was cutting his teeth in the Atlanta club scene. First a band called Phaedra, then another called Tricks. Night after night in smoky rooms, building a voice and a stage presence that could hold a room before anyone knew his name. And someone noticed. David Krebs and Steve Lieber of Leber-Krebs were 2 of the most powerful rock managers in America at that moment. Their roster included Ted Nugent and Aerosmith. These were not men who signed soft pop acts. They signed players. They signed performers who could command a stage. And when they saw Rex Smith, they signed him. Columbia Records came next. In 1976, the label released his debut album, simply titled Rex. It was hard rock, real hard rock. Tracks like Violent Playground and Dead End Kids and 10 Seconds of Love. Critics who have gone back to those recordings describe a sound that predated 80s hair metal, the kind of muscular, riff-driven rock that would have fit comfortably next to early Mötley Crüe or Van Halen. In 1977, a second album followed, Where Do We Go From Here, pushing the sound even further into stadium-sized territory. Neither album charted. Columbia was patient for a while. But patience in the record business is always conditional. The label had spent 2 years waiting for Rex Smith, the hard rocker, to break through. He hadn't. And somewhere in those offices on 6th Avenue in New York, a different conversation started. Not about the music, about the face. Because Rex Smith had a face. Blonde curls, sharp features. The kind of look that, in 1979, was pure currency. A television producer named Bruce Hart was developing a made-for-TV movie for NBC, a teenage romance. A young guitar teacher falls for a 13-year-old girl who lies about her age to get close to him. The film needed a lead. It needed someone who could play a musician convincingly and who could hold a frame. Columbia and Leber-Krebs put Rex Smith in the room. The movie was called Sooner or Later. It aired on NBC on March 25th, 1979. Rex later described what happened the next morning. The day before the broadcast, he could walk down any street in America without a second glance. The day after, he stepped outside and 500 girls surrounded him before he could reach the corner. A single from the soundtrack, You Take My Breath Away, reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100.
From a spring on a sizzling summer day.
The album went gold. Rex Smith was suddenly on the cover of Tiger Beat and 16 magazine, next to Sean Cassidy and Andy Gibb. 12-year-olds were taping his poster to their bedroom walls. The hard rocker was gone. The teen idol was here. And Columbia Records had absolutely no plan for what came next. But here is the turn. When a label manufactures a moment, they own the moment, not the artist, the moment. And the moment Columbia created around Rex Smith was built on something that had a built-in expiration date. Teen Idol fame does not age. It burns fast, and it burns completely. The labels know this. They have always known this. The question they never bother to answer is what happens to the artist when the flame goes out. Columbia had one answer: keep feeding the machine until the machine stops. In 1979, they released the Sooner or Later soundtrack album, gold record, top 10 single, massive, fine. In 1979, that strategy made sense. But then they released Forever later that same year. More ballads, more soft pop, more of the same image, the same teen market. No pivot, no development, just more of what had worked once, pushed into a market that was already moving on. And here is what nobody tells you about the teen idol machinery of that era. The labels were not building artists. They were selling faces. The music was almost beside the point. What Columbia needed from Rex Smith was not another great hard rock record. What they needed was another reason to put his photo on a magazine cover. And the moment that stopped being possible, the moment the 12-year-olds who had screamed his name moved on to the next face. The label had nothing left to offer him. By 1981, Rex managed to claw back some chart traction. A duet with singer Rachel Sweet, a remake of Everlasting Love, reached number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 35 in the United Kingdom.
I went away just when you needed me.
It was a genuine moment, a reminder that the voice was real, that the talent had not gone anywhere, that with the right material and the right push, there was still something there worth developing. Columbia did not push. In 1983, they released Camouflage, his final album for the label. The title was more honest than they probably intended. By that point, the whole project was a kind of camouflage, dressing up an abandoned career in new packaging and hoping nobody looked too closely. The album did not chart on the Billboard 200, not even close. And here is the specific detail that makes the whole thing land. At roughly the same moment, Columbia was releasing an album they had no intention of supporting. Rex Smith was replacing Andy Gibb as the host of Solid Gold, the television music variety show. Think about what that means. Here is a man with a genuine top 10 hit, a platinum album, a voice that could fill a room. And the best the industry could offer him at that moment was a hosting gig on a Saturday evening television program. Not a recording push, not a tour. A gig standing in front of a camera introducing other people's hits. That is what the label had reduced him to. Not a musician, a face on a television set. And just like that, the Columbia Records chapter was over. 7 years. 2 hard rock albums nobody bought. 1 TV movie that changed everything. And an exit so quiet there was not even a press release. Here is what the years after Columbia actually looked like. Rex Smith did not disappear. That is the first thing to understand. He kept working, he kept performing. He was talented enough and driven enough to find stages when the label stopped providing them. But there is a difference between surviving and thriving. And the music business in the 1980s had a very specific way of making that difference felt. He moved toward Broadway. In 1978, before the Sooner or Later wave had even crested, he had already played Danny Zuko in the Broadway production of Grease. The voice was never the question. It was never the issue. Any room Rex Smith walked into with a microphone in his hand, he could hold. Broadway confirmed what the Atlanta club circuit had suggested a decade earlier. This was a real performer, not a manufactured one. In 1983, he starred in the film version of The Pirates of Penzance alongside Kevin Kline, Angela Lansbury, and Linda Ronstadt. That is not a cast you land by accident. That is a cast you land because the people putting it together know you belong there. And he did belong there. The reviews said so. The performance said so. In 1985, he got his own television series, Street Hawk, an action show built around a motorcycle police officer with a secret high-tech bike. Rex was the lead. The show had network backing, a real production budget, and genuine audience interest in its early weeks. NBC canceled it after 13 episodes. He kept going. Guest appearances, The Love Boat, Baywatch, Caroline in the City, the daytime drama. As the World Turns, where he built a genuine following among soap opera audiences who recognized what the music industry had largely stopped acknowledging. He was good. He was consistently, professionally good. He just never again had the infrastructure behind him that turns good into enormous. But here's the kicker. While Rex Smith was guest starring on Baywatch and hosting Solid Gold, and doing everything a working performer does to stay relevant without a label's support, the hard rock sound he had been making before Columbia pointed him toward a TV movie was becoming one of the dominant forces in American music. Think about that timeline. 1976. Rex Smith is in a recording studio in New York cutting tracks that reviewers would later describe as sounding like early Van Halen and early Mötley Crüe. 1981. Van Halen are selling out arenas. Mötley Crüe are on their way to becoming one of the best-selling rock acts of the decade. 1983. Hair metal is everywhere. The sound that Rex Smith was making 7 years earlier, the sound Columbia decided was less valuable than his face in a teen magazine, is now the sound that is filling stadiums and moving millions of records. He did not get to be part of that. Not because he lacked the talent, because a label made a calculation in 1978 that his face was worth more than his music. And by the time that calculation expired, the window for the music had opened and closed without him. You probably heard "You Take My Breath Away" at some point in 1979.
'Cause you take my breath away.
Maybe on the radio driving somewhere with your parents. Maybe watching Sooner or Later on a Sunday night on NBC. Maybe you were one of the people who rode a bike to the record store the next day to buy the 8-track. The song was everywhere. It had that quality that the great pop singles of that era had. It sounded like it had always existed, like it had always been on the radio and always would be. What you did not know, listening to that song, was that the person singing it had already made 2 albums of completely different music that the label had quietly shelved. That the teen idol image you were seeing on magazine covers was a costume the label had dressed him in, not something he had chosen. That somewhere in a filing cabinet at Columbia Records, there were 2 hard rock albums with his name on them that the label had decided were worth less than 1 good photograph. And here is the number that puts all of it in focus. Rex Smith's estimated net worth today sits at approximately $750,000. Let that sit for a moment. This is a man who had a platinum-selling album, a top 10 single, a Broadway career, a network television series, film credits alongside Kevin Kline and Angela Lansbury and Linda Ronstadt. He was the first actor ever to play Daredevil in a live-action production, decades before Marvel turned that character into a global franchise. He did it in a 1978 television film and got no lasting credit for it when the superhero era arrived and everyone got rich. $750,000. Compare that to what Columbia Records earned from the Sooner or Later campaign. The album sales, the radio play, the licensing, the magazine cover deals built on his image. The label profited from the moment they created and walked away clean when the moment ended. Rex Smith was left with the career they had shaped, a career deliberately steered away from the sound that might have sustained him, and a net worth that does not begin to reflect what he put in. The hard rocker they found in Atlanta became a poster. The poster got used up, and then the poster got thrown away. That is all it took. One TV movie, one calculated pivot, one label decision made in a boardroom that Rex Smith was not in. And the math at the end of it tells you everything you need to know about who actually won. Here is what you should take away from all of this. Rex Smith was not a failure. He was a resource. Columbia Records found a genuine hard rock musician with a face that could sell magazines, used that face for exactly as long as it was useful, and then moved on without a backward glance. The music he actually wanted to make, the music he had been making before they got involved, was set aside the moment the label decided his image was worth more than his art. And the bitter part is not even the abandonment. Plenty of artists get abandoned. The bitter part is the timing. The sound they talked him out of became the sound of the decade. The window opened. He was not allowed to be in it. He kept working anyway. He still does. Because that is what real performers do. They do not stop because the machine stops. They find another stage and they get on it. Next time You Take My Breath Away comes on the radio, and it will, think about the 2 albums nobody played before it.
And I don't know what to say.
Think about the Atlanta kid the managers of Aerosmith believed in before Columbia decided a poster was more valuable than a record. He took your breath away. The label took the rest. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. And to my subscribers, you already know. You rock.